Welcome everyone. Welcome to our webinar, How to Call Out Gender Bias in the Workplace. I'm really delighted everyone's been able to join. We've just given a few minutes. We've just started a little bit late, given a few minutes for everyone to drop in because we had a really high amount of people sign up to this, which is fantastic. I'm really delighted about. Before we get kicked off, a couple of things I just want to cover off with everybody. Just a little bit of housekeeping, not too dull, I'll keep it light. As participants, just to let you know that everyone is on mute and you won't have the option to turn on your camera, and that's just at the moment, it's just to avoid disturbance and just to keep it all flowing nicely. We do have a Q&A panel where you can type in any questions at any point, and I am going to be asking for a bit of audience participation a little bit later, so please do reply. I'm really keen to hear from everyone out there. We will answer questions at the end. The event's being recorded, so I hope that's okay for everybody. So this is just official notification of that, and it'll be shared with everyone post-event. Okay, with regards to our code of conduct, this is something that actually we're really passionate about at And. We really believe in offering a safe environment for all our conversations, for all our meetings, and for all our webinars. So that means that this needs to be a welcoming, friendly user group for everybody. So shouldn't have to say any more than that. So just if anyone is interested in our code of conduct, please do feel free to click on the link and have a look. But just to say that is the sort of space you have entered today. So just a quick fly through the agenda we've got. So I'm going to be doing a quick welcome and intro, as well as talking to you guys about why supporting women in tech is important to And. Then we're going to be moving on to a couple of my colleagues who I will let introduce themselves. They're all fabulous, they're all excellent. You have a really good panel lined up today. So I will, without further ado, move on. I'll just give you a little bit of an intro to myself and why you're hearing from me today. First things first, I am Chief of Hub Operations, which basically means I head up operational teams across the north of England and Scotland. The most important part, though, is my And title, which is And Bextonite. And I will be astounded if anybody can, in the chat, tell me what they think and being a Bextonite is. Most people at And don't know, so I'm not expecting a high response ratio. But if anyone does know, please call it out. I'll give you 10 seconds and then I'll tell you. It means I am a Sophie Ellis-Bextor superfan. Everyone who comes into contact with me at And Digital knows that. And our And titles are really important to us. They tell our colleagues, they tell people outside the business a little bit about us without having to do anything formal. So that's me. I've been in digital 12 years. I've been in marketing another 4. I am a mum of 2. And I am acutely focused in my working life on operational delivery and growing existing business and new offices within And. So that's a little bit about me. So I'm going to talk a little bit about why supporting women in tech is important to And. And I almost feel like it's kind of a little bit nuts that I have to talk about this stuff, but here we are, and so I will. I'm going to start off with the obvious. This is the boring stuff, but if any one of you goes on to Google and you do a search about why gender diversity is important in the workplace, you will come up with numerous McKinsey, Google reports, and you can find a wealth of information out there about why it's important. They all point to some 4 key things: higher profitability, more job satisfaction, less burnout in the workplace, more meaningful work for people who work in your business. And for me, this is all great. I mean, it's wonderful. I mean, if you put higher profitability at the top of any conversation about gender bias and gender diversity, surely we're going to get everybody's attention, aren't we? Except we don't all the time, and we're still having to have these conversations. And that's because ultimately these 4 points for me, they don't hit the nail on the head. These are important, these are fantastic benefits, but for me, I'm going to come to the important stuff. I'm going to talk a little bit about And. So why this is important to us at And. So our mission, for anyone who doesn't know, our mission is to close the world's digital skill gap. That's what we want to do. We're not here we're not here just to sell digital services. We're not here to build digital products on its own. That's almost what we do on the side. What we are is we're about people. We're about empowering people. We're about training people. And we're about closing the digital skills gap by bringing awesome people into digital and really bridging that gap. And obviously, we need women, just like men, at the epicenter of our mission in order to succeed. We cannot do that unless we have a complete balance of men and women, because we need the right workforce to do this. And hopefully some of you might have seen that recently we were voted as the second best place to work on Glassdoor. That doesn't come from any marketing activity. That comes from the fact that we are recruiting good, nice people in a balanced and diverse way to come into a workplace that is a nice soft landing and a good place to work. That is what is at our core. And at our absolute core, we believe in building a fair and diverse workplace. And if we do that, then we will create a place where people want to work, not where they have to work, but where they want to work, where they want to come in every day and meet their colleagues and enjoy and feel useful in their day-to-day lives. But we cannot do that unless we do it in a balanced way with both men and women. It's that simple. So that's all great. So, we've seen on paper that in all the reports, we've read what McKinsey said, we've read what Lean In organizations say, we've read what Google says. And we know that we need this to get to where we want to go. But here's the fundamental thing for me. It's about doing what's right. And this is the first organization I have ever worked for where I have been able to openly talk about some stuff with my peers, with my team, with my colleagues in an open, transparent, and totally normalized way, that I finally feel that I'm in a workplace where we're doing what's right. And we are really trying hard to make sure we're always at the forefront of that. So here's the audience participation bit. And this is important. And I'd appreciate anyone putting some comments into the box. I would like to know how many of the following phrases resonate with any one of you who is on this webinar. Could any one of you resonate with a situation where you weren't sure if you could talk to your boss about plans to have a family, or where you felt worried about talking to a boss or a peer about the fact that you wanted to start planning a family? Has anyone had considered that they're going to a really big, important meeting and actually maybe they ought to be dressing in a more masculine way? Has that crossed anybody's mind? Has anyone been lucky enough and fortunate enough to have a family of their own and felt distinctly worried about coming back to work after having a baby? Has anyone thought that in a meeting they felt their voice couldn't be heard, or that actually, and this was one of my favorites, that they had been asked to come to a meeting purely because someone needed to organize the tea and sandwiches? These are the sorts of scenarios which I hear over and over again from people I mentor, people who I've worked with, workplaces I've been at previously. These are the sorts of things that as women we come across. Just the other day, I've had people come to me and say, I'm not sure that I can talk about issues with my health and menopause. Why? This needs fixing. We need to be able to talk about this stuff. I am trying, as part of my team in a very small part of the world in Anne, to make sure that any woman in my team feels that she can talk to me about any of the sorts of subjects that I've just raised. But what I'm really, really passionate about, and what I am so delighted about having found in my 10 months now here at AND, is the fact that I look around and I see so many women with myself who are talking about these things openly with male counterparts, with male colleagues. Just the other day, I was on a Slack call with our CEO, Paramjit Upal, and we were talking about something very important. It was a fire that needed put out, a regular thing. It was 5:30, and my wife returned home with both children. She'd done pick up gloriously, And my son ran in and sat on my knee and absolutely would not let me have a space to talk. My CEO engaged with my son. He started talking to him about Gruffalo. And in that instant, I felt comfortable that I worked in a workplace where I could do my job, I could be a mother, and I didn't have to apologize or even feel vaguely worried about it. And in many workplaces previously, had that happened with a colleague or someone, I would have been okay. But had it happened with the CEO, I wouldn't. That is the sort of place we are trying to create here at And. And the reason that is important is because it needs to be genuine. It needs to be real to make women feel welcome. And without women in this workplace, we will not achieve our mission. And it's about doing what's right. That, for me, is the fundamentally most important part about this. And there is a second part for me as well. And that's about paving the way for all our daughters. I don't know how many people who have joined this webinar have got families and who have children and have daughters. But the fact is, I want to know that I am working towards, I am helping in some small way. I am working somewhere where we are creating a good workplace for girls and women to join at every point in their life and careers, so they can participate in a workplace where they feel welcome, and they can have that soft landing where they can be their very, very best selves and achieve all their dreams. One of the things that we have been very focused on is making sure that we pay equally in our workplace, and also making sure that we have equal representation at chief or senior director level. We do not have a hierarchical organization. We have quite a flat hierarchy here at And, but within that flat hierarchy, 40% of our pioneers or chiefs are women. And one of the things that I'm most pleased to be able to say is that all of those hires have been fantastically genuine, and it has created from the top down a place where hopefully women feel incredibly welcome. But ultimately, that is why we are doing what we're doing, and that's why it's important to And. So without further ado, unless we will save all questions until the end, but please do fire any questions at me. Also, if anyone wants to add me on LinkedIn, please do. I do a lot of mentoring. I do a lot of supporting of women in the workplace and women in digital. Please do reach out. Myself and all my female colleagues at And, we're very open to supporting anyone who needs it. And without saying any more, I will pass over to Sophie Hallam. Sophie.
Thanks, Di. So hi, I'm Sophie. I'm the recruitment lead here at And Digital. My And title, which is again the most important thing, is dog lover. I've had to shut both dogs out of the room today because they do like to gate crash my calls. I've been with the business for nearly 3 years now, and I specifically head up the Northern recruitment team. And has changed a lot and grown a lot in the time that I've been here. And my role now is specifically to work on recruitment strategy and delivery as we grow in the North. So I'm definitely not here today to talk to you in the capacity of an expert when it comes to recruiting inclusively around gender. And I do think everybody's at their own time in their journey when it comes to recruiting inclusively as well. And we're not at And doing anything particularly groundbreaking. I think if you Google the best ways to increase the females in your candidate pipeline, we're pretty much trying to tick every single box. But I'm going to talk you through the small changes that we made at the start of 2021, which have made a significant impact for us, and we'll look at the impact that they have made as well. And hopefully it just inspires people to take a look at your own recruitment process. You may be doing some really amazing things. Maybe you're at the start of your journey and making changes, but hopefully it will inspire someone to take a look at their own recruitment process and look at what maybe you guys could implement as well. So when we looked at the interview and guess the whole interview experience and application process, we really weren't doing anything specifically to attract more females into the business. So we did have to just go back to basics. And I think the key thing here is that we do have a really passionate recruitment team when it comes to recruiting inclusively across all, the different areas. But we are an all-female team. We do definitely champion bringing more females into the business. And we actively want to learn and, upskill ourselves around diversity. We attend a lot of women in tech events. We grow our female network, but we also work closely with the women in tech community and as well, how can we support each other? And I think the fact we're so passionate just drives the change a lot quicker. And we really enjoyed implementing the changes. The next thing we looked at was pronouns, because pronouns is a huge topic at the moment, and we didn't really give any of our candidates a safe space to let us know pronouns. So as simply, we added a section to our application process, which gave our candidates a safe place to let us know their pronouns. We always check that section and we make sure we speak to people how they want to be spoken to. And that's definitely worked. It's definitely encouraged people to let us know. One thing we also did, we want our team to feel approachable when it comes to talking about these kind of things. And we've added our own pronouns to our LinkedIn profiles, but also to our email signatures. So it's just making yourself approachable so that people can talk about these things with you and you're happy to have those conversations. The next thing we looked at was job specs. So job specs for me is a really important one. And research done by LinkedIn showed that females felt like they needed to meet 100% of the job criteria to apply, whereas males would apply after only meeting around 60%. So what we've done over the last year is really strip our job specs back. Are those essential skills, all of those essential skills, actually essential? And we've launched a new job spec template, which includes a diversity and equal opportunity statement in there. And it's very much around why would you want to work for And, rather than a long list of reasons or things that you have to be able to work for us. And we have seen a much bigger intake on female applications and just applications in general, actually, from making those changes. One thing I would definitely recommend as well, because it's free, is to just run your job spec through a gender decoder online. And that will take any masculine specific language out of there. It's a really easy, quick thing to do and, does have a big impact. The next thing we looked at was the interview process. So a lot of research showed that if a female candidate meets a female interviewer in their interview process, they're more likely to accept the role with you. So we now make sure that all of our female candidates meet a female throughout the interview process, and we actively encourage all of our females across And to join our interview panels and get involved. Another thing that we've done on that, actually, which is quite important, is our interview process is fairly standardized across the whole business. Everybody does the same culture interview and everybody does a functional interview, which takes a lot of bias out of the process. So I would say, if you can, try and standardize your interview process, because it will help you recruit more inclusively. And following on from that interview training, we make sure all of our interviewers are trained before they conduct any interviews at And we run them through unconscious bias training, which I think is really important. They also know how to run interviews and how to, assess candidates, which again standardizes the interview process and eliminates a lot of bias. So if you can, train your interviewers. I think it's really important. And lastly, job boards. So there is women in tech job boards out there. There is places where it's easier to find females. Seek that out, do some research. Whatever your budget is, can you partner with some women in tech job boards, and are you searching in the right place for that female talent, is what you really need to look at too. And I guess the next slide is something that we have done, which was a little bit more difficult and a little bit more out of our comfort zone. But as a recruitment team, we have committed to gender balanced shortlists for all non-engineering roles. So any roles within the product, the delivery space, design, people and service, we make sure that we put forward a gender balanced candidate shortlist for all of those roles. That for us has made a massive difference, because we've actively increased the amount of female candidates in the pipeline right at the start, which is important. In an ideal world, we would also commit to engineering roles, but given the skills gap and our rate of growth, and it just wasn't possible at the time. We haven't rolled it out for the future. But yeah, I think on this, if there's a particular area within your business where there isn't enough females, or you could really benefit from having more females in that area, the ratio is not great, maybe just start there and look, in your line management roles, for example, if you don't feel you have enough female line managers, start with those roles and start with your gender balance shortlist on those roles, because you can start small and roll it out bigger. But we kind of just went in with a bit of a big bang. But the next slide shows exactly how that has worked for us. So these changes we implemented at the start of 2021. And in 2021, we hired in total 108 females into our North Hub. So our North Hub, Anne's very big. And this was across our northern business units. So 108 females in total. 22 of those females were into leadership roles, which was really important for us. And 41% of our total hires for the year last year were female, which was a percentage we were really, really happy with. We want to get to 50%. That's the aim for 2022. But if you look back at 2020, where we weren't doing anything to actively encourage females into the candidate pipeline, we actually only hired 47 females across the year, which was just 26% of our total hires, and only 9 into leadership roles. So by implementing these changes, we've more than doubled the amount of females into our leadership roles last year in the North, which is absolutely amazing. So next slide is mainly, just to be a little bit nosy, it was me being a little bit nosy actually, and looking at the rest of the business and as a whole. So these were statistics as of last week, I think, and we did have some onboarded intakes yesterday. So the numbers probably will have slightly changed, but as of last week, we have 1,314 Andys in total across the business. That includes our European office in Amsterdam as well. 451 of those Andys are female, which is a total of 35% across the business. Really interestingly here, and I've kind of tracked some key areas, 42.2% of our line managers across And are female, which is really important because we want to actively encourage more female into leadership and management roles. And, ideally we're going to get that percentage to at least 50%. 45% of our associates are female. So associates for us are junior engineers or graduate engineers. And I think that equates to about 100 across the business. So we're really investing time and money and into the future female talent of the world. Like Di said, closing the digital skills gap and bringing more females in at, that lower level and really nurturing them through the business is important to us. So I think it's 45%, but it's just less than 100 female associates across the business. And as Di said as well, 40% of our chief of roles are female. So we just have 20 chief of titles across the business, and 8 of those are female, which this time last year would not have been the case. So we've worked really hard to make sure we have a lot more females in leadership roles across the business. But yeah, hopefully that gives you kind of an insight into the changes that And have made. We really want to increase the amount of females we have across And. We make a conscious effort, and when we do, it really makes a difference. So yeah, that's it from me, but any questions at the end? Thank you.
That's brilliant. Thank you. Thank you so much, Sophie. Are you with us, Chandra? There you are. Fantastic.
Yeah. Can you all hear me? Yeah. Perfect. Right. So thank you for that, Amy. Thank you for the introduction, Diana. I'm Chandra. I've been working with And for about 3.5 years now. Almost 12 years in IT, so kind of getting to a veteran level. I work with clients on their digital transformation journeys. So basically help them modernize their existing IT infrastructure from a technology as well as a cultural viewpoint, which is a a major part of what we do as a company. So I'll move on to talking about DNI. And like both the speakers before me have talked about, and is a people company. We are in the business of technology, but our focus is people, which is why we focus so much on DNI as well. So diversity and inclusion is kind of a DNA for and works on a club model. So like all of you might be aware, there are different clubs who have got their own functions. I belong to Club Murray, so I'll be focusing on what we do at Club Murray as far as DNI Ops is concerned. Basically, our focus area is to look at various aspects of DNI, which includes STEM, neurodiversity, mental health, LGBTQ+, culture, as well as women in tech. And the idea behind this is to kind of drive and orchestrate all the activities across the club and also in the community that we belong to, so that we have a representation across various pillars. I'll just quickly drive you through the process that we follow in terms of what our vision is. So we want that everyone in the club should feel represented, supported, and empowered. The way we do it is by engaging with people from all backgrounds. So that is within the club as well as outside the club. And our aim is to make DNI a part of our DNA. So it's not something that we want to do explicitly. It should be implicit in everything that we do, is what we aim to do. The way we work is almost very similar to the way we work for our clients. So it's very agile, it's dynamic, it's a very collaborative process. We listen to our people, we listen to people around us. It's very open, so anybody can come up with an idea and implement it. There is no hierarchy or there are no controls as such. It's iterative, so we try and improve and look at the things that we have done right and wrong and try and improve them on every iteration. It is aligned to our BHAG, so that's our overall company goal that we are trying to achieve for 2025, and we try and align our objectives according to that. And obviously there is a constant feedback we get from within the club, from outside the club, from the overall leadership at AND as well, that we try to cater in. And this is kind of a process that we try and go through. So we, like I said, align our goals to the overall company goal. We decide our activities according to that would fall into that goal. And obviously there is an importance that we give to measurement. So KPIs, just measuring the activities that we are doing and that help us improve going forward. Yeah. Similar to that, these are some of the stories that we do. And again, it kind of aligns with the overall company objective. So this is where I'm going to be focusing on women in tech today. And just a disclaimer, these are activities that our great team at Club Murray have been doing. So I'm just talking on their behalf. If you have any questions, get in touch and I'll put you in touch with the right people. But this is the lovely team of volunteers who are involved. And as you can see, there are a lot of people involved in this group and working on a lot of great activities. Yeah, again, on their behalf, some of the things that the way they work is kind of 3 pillars. So first one is attracting, retaining, and progressing the talent. So, in continuation with what Sophie mentioned, it is really important for us to have that inclusivity as far as gender is concerned. And that is what we try and do so that we attract the right talent and keep them with us. Community, we look outside as well. So we work with third parties, we work with organizations that are doing work in our community on growing this. And we do career panels, mock interviews as well, so as to help the people around us. Role models, and that is again an idea to become role models for women, in organizations and in institutions, educational institutions, and give them a roadmap on how they can develop their career in IT. This again is a rebranding exercise that they did recently, renamed it to Gender Diversity in Tech, sort of to broaden the horizon a bit, but it kind of overall captures, what they have been working around and helping more women and gender minorities getting into tech and supporting women in their careers as well on an ongoing basis. This is some of the activities that have happened. So virtual careers panel, there was an Ada Lovelace Day talk by one of our delivery leads. And for those of you who don't know, Ada Lovelace was one of the pioneers who worked on the first computer that Charles Babbage built. So that's something that we really celebrate every year. North Coders Bootcamp. We do a lot of bootcamp exercises, hackathons as well, is something that we sponsor in order to get people into tech. Leeds Digital Festival, we are a very active part of that community. We have got internal networking events where students come to our offices, have a tour. We also celebrate International Men's Day, which is kind of a social event, but it's kind of inclusivity as a whole. Is what the point here is. And again, focus is on data and KPIs and to ensure that we have, we are achieving our goals and we are keeping on track with what we want to do. Again, this is some of the activities that is going on right now as we speak. And some of the future activities that are planned. So Leeds Digital Festival that happens every year, Your Careers, Ada Lovelace Day, networking events. So yeah, that's all from me. Like I said earlier, if you want to know more and get in touch, with anyone from the group, let me know and I'll put you in contact with the right people. So I guess that's all from me. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Chandra. That's awesome. I will hand over to Renee. Are you with us, Renee? There you are. Fantastic.
Hello. Hi. Thank you. Thank you, Di. So first off, who am I and why am I here? So my name is Renee and I work in tech. A bit more on that. So I've worked in a vast range of roles, starting my career as a front-end software engineer, moving into business analysis and leadership, then dipping my toes into the world of user experience and design, and finally landing up in the product analysis space at And. All kind of over around 7 years, with a little break in the middle to go traveling. So I am always doing too much, but I'm never sad about it. So I juggle my day job, my role as lead for And She Can, which I'll tell you a little bit more about later. My role within Anne's BAME Plus committee, my joy for mentoring and coaching others, and there's probably a few other things too that I've completely forgotten about. I think something that's important to know about me is that I've never actually allowed myself to believe in a glass ceiling. I was brought up to believe that women are strong, women are beautiful, women are intelligent, and that we can, 1, do anything we put our minds and hearts to, and 2, have to help each other shine and grow. So hopefully that's what we're trying to do today. Perfect. Cool. So did you know that only 35% of STEM students in higher education globally are women? But so what? That's a fair amount, right? No. When you consider how many of those students then join the STEM workforce, you can never have enough young women studying for these careers. I remember being 14 years old at school and having to make one of the biggest decisions of my entire life without anyone ever actually making it clear how important that was. So in year 9, we choose which subjects outside of the mandatory few that we want to study. For me, that was only 2 options. But there's so many factors in that. One being, what do your parents study and therefore know a huge amount? That usually impacts us quite a lot. What are our friends studying? What do they actually plan to choose as classes? Because sometimes we want to do the same thing. Which of our teachers were the best? Which ones engaged us the most? Which ones did we get on with the most? And so many other factors. If the IT class is all boys and all of your friends are studying the arts, as a girl, which are you more likely to choose? This then translates into university and further ahead into work. If girls don't study IT in school, they're far less likely to be able to join a computer science or similar degree program. It might be harder to move into technology sector or take longer because you've got to do additional courses and additional classes.
And the same can be said for other subjects too. It's not just the STEM issue. Perhaps it's a biological issue. Perhaps boys are just better at STEM than girls are. Research into that exact statement has proven that no, biology plays no part in this gender gap. UNESCO found that the gender gap in STEM is not the result of sexual differences or innate ability. They found that educational performance, including in STEM subjects, is influenced by experience and can be improved through targeted interventions. They also found that socialism and learning processes play a huge part. Social, cultural, and gender norms influence the way that girls and boys are brought up, how they learn, how they interact with parents, friends, and the wider community. All of these factors shape our identity, our beliefs, and our behaviours, and our choices. We are often brought up to believe that STEM studies and careers are masculine and that our ability in these fields is innately inferior, which will then undermine our confidence and often our interest. So what can we do? What does this mean for us? Well, a study by HARI, the Higher Education Research Institution at the University of California, suggests that girls' schools combat a lot of these issues. They found that girls' school graduates have stronger academic skills, are more academically engaged, and demonstrate higher science self-confidence than female peers at co-educational schools, so mixed schools. Does the fact that there are no boys to compare yourself to, that all of the subjects are for girls because you are all girls, factor into this maybe? I went to a co-ed school, but I've never hugely cared about what other people are doing, even to this day. I grew up when video games were cartridges that you put into the console, bit of a throwback with all these pictures, hopefully. When TVs and computers had huge backs on them, when email would sing to you when you opened Internet Explorer, when if you answered the phone, you couldn't walk very far because it was attached to the wall, when MSN was absolutely live and browsing the internet when your mum was on the phone was impossible. I grew up with a mum who drilled through my wall from the outside, pulled up the carpet and floorboards in my room, also she could extend the aerial from the roof and outside, bring it into her room so that when Freeview became a thing, she could watch all the channels in her room. She would move light fixtures to different parts of the room, add more plug sockets, change light switches from dimmers to flick switches. She taught me how to change a tire on a car, to always keep a set of ruined clothes for when you need to paint a room. She taught me how to saw and use other tools to build things from scrap pieces of wood. I was brought up to think that everything was for me. If I wanted to play rugby, that was fine, but equally I could dance. If I wanted to become a designer, that would be great, but so would being the technologically minded individual that I am today. I was brought up by a true feminist, even if she didn't know. Once I finished school, I decided to take an apprenticeship in technology. I was adamant that university wasn't for me, and I have zero regrets and zero student debt. But why do we see so few other women in technology companies today? So once we finished education, some of us might take a gap year, but for the most part, we go into our chosen career. 49% of the UK workforce is women. So our workforce is representative mostly of our population, which is great. So what if I told you that the tech workforce, actually only 19% of the tech workforce is women? Not great, right? A study run by PwC may explain why these numbers are so low. Research conducted with over 2,000 A-level and university students, 50% boys, 50% girls, found that only 20% of female respondents say they would consider a career in technology, compared to 62% of males, and only 3% of females say that a career in tech is their first choice. It seems that we have a vicious circle of perception and reality in terms of gender imbalances. We're failing to show young people, especially girls, the realities of technology jobs in today's world. If we aren't putting technology careers and role models in front of girls as an option, we can't expect them to be enthused to join us. PwC found that 21% of female students would consider a career in tech if they have more information about it. So what can we do to make this change? How can we inspire girls and women into technology? Well, at AND, we have a fabulous initiative called And She Can, which, as I mentioned earlier, I am one of the leads for. We launched And She Can with a vision to inspire, educate, support, and facilitate girls and women to embark on and excel in a career in technology. Our mission is to help close the digital gender skills gap, which you heard a little bit about earlier. We run a huge range of events across all facets of technology across the country, and in our Amsterdam hub too. Things that aren't just coding. So here you can see some of the events we've run in the past and some that currently are in planning or are happening soon. In the past, we run development courses online, as obviously because of COVID, we've had to take everything to be virtual, like today. We've done things like conference days in person, and coming up this year, we've got a number of panels run by our London clubs, focusing on specific topics such as how the internet works and creating and deploying an application. We've got a number of user experience design specific workshops and challenges running across the country, some focused on teaching new skills, others focused on those who already design, gaining industry feedback and practicing via real world design challenges. We have And She Can's Wondering Minds, a new initiative aimed at underprivileged schoolgirls that we hope to rerun multiple times with different children across London and Reading. Most of our events are publicised through our LinkedIn account and shared on Eventbrite for women to sign up and participate. If you are interested in learning more or getting involved, feel free to reach out via the feedback form that I think you'll get sent after this session, or also just keep an eye out on our LinkedIn profile, so And Digital's LinkedIn profile, for all of the regular posts about everything in the events. So that's everything from me. I think you've just had a post about the Q&A. So if you're not aware, it's at the bottom. You should have Q&A at the bottom right. Feel free to add any questions and I will hand back over. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Renee. That was awesome. And so really appreciate your candor and bringing your personal experience to bear as well. I don't think I'll ever forget doing a talk to a group of A-level students, and a girl came up to me at the end of the session and she was doing maths and further maths. And she said that in her spare time, she was developing 2 games using algorithms. And she wanted to know if I thought there was any future in that, or if I thought there was any place for that in the world in terms of careers, because no one seemed to think that what she was doing was useful. And I pointed her at about 3 different companies in Manchester who she stayed in touch with through university. I find it astounding to this day. So thank you. I'm going to move over to the Q&A straight away, conscious of time. Really appreciate everyone hanging on. So the first question we have had, and first say thank you to all our speakers, by the way, for all your time in this. But the first question, what do you think is the biggest barrier for women looking for a career in tech? Honestly, I think a lot of probably the biggest barrier is still perception. So, and I've touched on it there a little bit, and Renee talked about it. But when we talk about when a woman goes and seeks counsel from a mentor, from a parent, from a sibling, and says, "Oh, I'm thinking about doing a career in this. You know, what do you think?" Because perception has been so low about the possibilities for women in tech, there hasn't been that, "Oh yeah, you know, absolutely. God, there's loads of jobs in tech for women. You should absolutely go for that. You know, the money's great. They're great working places. You'll be really happy." You know, the perception isn't there yet. And I think we've definitely got a barrier there. And I think the other barrier is ourselves, because we're so used to, not putting ourselves forward and not championing ourselves and raising each other up. You know, doing more of that as well will really, really help overcome barriers. And that's something that we're pushing really, really hard. Okay, I'm just going to go back to which D&I initiative are you most proud of and why? Oh gosh, that's a difficult one. Chandra, maybe that's something that I could direct your way.
Yeah, I mean, so like I said, I've not been directly involved in women in tech initiatives, but some of the work that I have seen, and I guess it was touched upon, and She Can is a really good initiative. It is something that our club worked on as well, and that was about upskilling women in tech and kind of giving them the entry door towards technology and how they can build their careers in tech. I think that was really cool. I think all of us within the club and the company are really proud of that. Yeah.
Fantastic, thank you. Another question we have is about what are the family leave policies at AND and what ways do these reflect the initiatives spoken about today? Okay, so this is one that I can take. We do a very, I think, a generous maternity leave policy. We do half pay over a period of 9 months for people on maternity leave. And we also do returning bonuses as well. And as someone who's had 2 children, I have to say that gone seems to be, luckily, the days where I remember being faced with, you can have 6 weeks at 90% pay. Isn't that great? And I remember thinking, well, no, not really, because, after the birth of my son, for example, I needed to actually be off for about 11 months after a huge operation. So really 6 weeks was no good to me whatsoever. And what I really like about this policy is it covers you for longer, but at a rate of pay which basically allows you to keep things ticking over in the background. And as I say, we have this return to work bonus, and in addition to that, we offer the opportunity to return flexibly as well. So you can return on as many days as works for you and graduate up. So there's lots of initiatives that we have, and it's something I'm particularly passionate about. Making sure that when women come back from having a baby, they come to a soft welcome landing, and understand that they don't need to pretend they're any more okay than they are. What would you say to a woman who is thinking of starting a career in tech? Renee, maybe I can hand this one to you.
Yeah, sure. Simply do it. I think that's like is a big thing. Like I think I really try to highlight that there's so many different roles that you can do. So obviously we've got a huge range of people in this call today speaking, but there's anything from design, every company needs marketing. We've got leadership, we've got people who are just working to make things better and sort of policies and ways of working. Then you've got really, really technical things. So I think also the great thing, if you can get into a really good company, is that you can move. So you can join and you can code, and then maybe you want to try something more leadership, more data, more design. You have that flexibility, or at least I have in this company and my previous company, but hence my my huge rap sheet of a mixture of different things. So I would never ever say that there's anything against getting into tech. Tech is our future. Tech has an abundance of different skills and things you can learn. And I think for me, the biggest thing is women don't realize, but you have so many transferable skills that you can use in tech. If you're a teacher, you can get into the onboarding or academy function and train people in tech, things like that. So I'd say do it. Simply.
Brilliant, thank you. I think this is a really, really good question. So thank you very much for this one. Will you, we've heard lots of interesting things about and women, but not how to call out gender bias specifically. So gender bias in the workplace and how we call it out. I think that's a really, really good question. And now I can talk about 2 things. I can talk about how we have avenues to do that in and we've made sure that we have many, many safe spaces and the ability to do this. And then I can talk about how I've had to do it in previous workplaces where those haven't existed. So if I start with and, so every single one of our business units in and has a people lead. And that person is tasked with basically the welfare and the happiness and of everyone within that business unit. They are a safe space for anyone within that business unit to raise anything about diversity, anything about gender bias. So if there is anything that is concerning any member of, for example, my team or any team, what they do is they go to their people lead and they call it out. And they can call it out and say, you know, I feel that this is gender bias and I feel it's this for the following reasons and I need you to look into it. The people lead will then take that forward and champion it on that person's behalf. We can offer anonymity, we can offer a safe space for that. I would like to think that actually all of our leads and our chiefs within the business are also completely open and safe spaces for those conversations, but also understand that sometimes people do like that extra cloak of safety in some of these, and you know, it can feel like a worrying thing to raise. And so we have those people leads for that. And you can just go direct to them, you can go direct to a line manager, you can go direct to Paramjit. That is the truth in this business. But in other businesses, and I've worked in a number, I have attempted to call out a number of gender bias things and matters and decisions that have been taken. I remember when I was off on maternity leave at the time, I'd been waiting for over a year for a promotion to commercial director. And I'd been waiting for that role to come available. And my boss, the CEO, everybody knew that, you know, I was working towards that. And while I was on maternity leave, the role became available. I wasn't notified. I wasn't interviewed. I wasn't in any way told, and it was allocated to someone else. Now I had no issue with the fact that it had gone to someone else. Maybe that other person deserved it. But what I did have a huge, huge issue with was the fact that I wasn't contacted or given the opportunity to put myself forward for it, when purely on the basis that I had a child and therefore I was on maternity leave, and that wasn't okay, and I called that out. I went direct to my line manager, and it wasn't received particularly well. I was told that, you know, I was away, out of sight, out of mind. I believe the phrase used at the time was, "We thought you'd have your hands full," which was a delight to hear. And so what I actually did was I went to HR and I called it out as very specific gender bias and something that needed to be corrected. And that has to be the avenue, and it takes guts and it's scary to do that, but that is the way you have to do it. Line managers and HR, every business will have an HR channel or should have an HR channel for you to go through to do that. I hope that answers that for you. How does the perception in the UK compare to other regions in the world? Are there regions where representation is much more balanced? I think in the UK, actually, we have a very, very safe space comparatively. I think we do, for example, a lot of the businesses that I've worked with have had a big presence in Europe and a big presence in the States and a big presence in Asia Pacific. My experience has been that we are ahead, I feel very lucky to say, of places like the States. I think the States still has a lot of work to do. I think in some areas we're actually behind when we compared with some of our European counterparts, such as the Netherlands and places like that. And with Asia Pac, I think that's still a developing area where that's still something that I'd say they're probably a little bit behind where we are. So I hope that answers that. Oh, no more open questions. Have we reached the end of the Q&A? I'll just give a couple of seconds while I say a couple of thank yous, a couple of seconds for any more questions that want to drop in. I'd also like to say thank you for everyone who's joined. You guys have been awesome. We've had really good questions, really good participation. I really, really appreciate that. And thank you to all my speakers. Thank you for making the time and doing this. It's such an important topic. I feel very passionately about it, as hopefully comes across. Okay. Well, in that case, thank you to everyone. You've been wonderful. It's been a great session. Really enjoyed it. Have a wonderful afternoon, rest of the day. And I hope to see you at one of our next webinars coming up. Please keep your eyes on the website for the next ones we've got coming up. Thank you.